Today, we're going to talk about the 3 things we wish our parents would have taught us about money.
Oftentimes when folks join our WalletWin Academy, they will tell us something along the lines of, I never learned this. You know, they crack into the first module, maybe the second, and they're like, where was this when I was growing up? My life would have been so much better up to this point if I had only developed these skills earlier in life.
And I agree with you.
And I agree.
I understand 100%.
And then as they work their way through the WalletWin method, which is our financial phases and our milestones, and they're getting progress, another follow-up comment is often, how can I teach this to my kids? When are you going to roll out a curriculum for children? Can this be something that I incorporate into my kids' Catholic school, or they can get an online version of to, take a class over the summer, or I can build it into my homeschooling curriculum? Those questions. And they've always been it's been a priority for us to create that. We've also just had a lot of other priorities getting in the way of being able to do that freely and to the level that we desire. And we have just been patiently waiting, trusting that the time would come, and that time is now.
I just checked my watch. Yep.
The time says create the WalletWin Kids and Money class.
1:45 WalletWin Kids. So we want to take the chance on today's episode to talk about kids and money and the things we wish would have happened for us, because it is our duty as parents to teach our children the truth, to teach our children good things, to get them prepared to be fully functional, successful adults out in the world.
Yes, I think I'm a huge believer in just giving kids a solid education, right? So nobody mishear me here. This is not just because Amanda and Jonathan are homeschoolers that we say this. I think that when you send your children to a school, whether it be a Catholic school or a public school, I don't care, or just some other private school, the temptation that your brain almost gets tricked into is that I send my kids away, I ship them out to school to learn things. And then, even faith things, I send them to that CCD or that faith formation class. We're shipping out and outsourcing the education of our kids on basically every topic possible. So then it feels like there's not a lot to have to do and cover in the home. But really, I think it should be reverse. Everything should be in the home. And then what they're learning at school and in faith formation, etc., should only be echoing what we're already educating them on in our homes.
In all of those situations, when we're assuming something, we're assuming what will be covered, what topics will be covered, what depth they'll be covered in. Yes. And so you might think, oh, well, handling money, that's probably something that they're going to talk about. Nope.
No.
It usually isn't. And I think we all know that, or if it is, it's very quick, it's very surface level. And so we can't assume that this is going to be covered on their own. Like, we need to take the priority. We need to make sure this gets covered in the home. And exactly. I'll tell you what, my parents, they weren't irresponsible with money or anything like that.
Neither were mine.
But they did some stuff, but it didn't stick.
I just don't think that generation didn't have they didn't know how to talk about the tense topics. Like things like money, things like sex,
religion.
They did not know how to talk about them. So the policy was just like, don't sweep it under the rug, and somehow my kid will come out fine and well-formed.
So I mean,
and now you've got millennials who are like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. So now we are trying to over-communicate. Probably our kids are going to be like, oh, they wouldn't shut up about all the, all these things, but they're just so important. It's too important to get wrong. So
I wish my parents would have done a more thorough job modeling good financial habits. So they had some, like, I do remember them sitting down at the table to like balance the checkbook.
Right.
They would they would mail back like the signed checks like once a month or whatever. They'd go through but they never talked about it. They never invited me into it. I just knew they sat at the table with all these checks and like a pen and probably some papers for, half an hour or whatever. I didn't know really what was going on.
Right.
I wasn't a part of it.
So there was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
They were doing something good, but they missed the teaching moment to be able to bring you into that conversation. And my parents did the same. I don't think it was any fault. I don't think there was any ill will. I just don't think that generation was equipped with the skills to
When he's older, I want him to know nothing. Hope he gets really in debt bad.
Says no parent ever.
Yeah.
But, with the culture and the attitudes around money shifted wildly, I would say, from the 60s when a lot of our parents were born to today. Completely radical, different financial landscape. And I just don't think they knew how it was changing and how quickly it was changing.
So what are some good ways, folks? What are some ways that you listening could model good financial habits to your children?
Yeah. Well, before we dive into that, I'm going to tell people we've got 3 things. Oh, you already did.
I did.
In the intro. We've got 3 things we're going to help you work on in how you could actually teach your kids. So yeah, let's dive into those good money habits. Like Jonathan said, he watched his parents balancing the checks, which today the equivalence of that is probably just sitting down and living with a budget.
And I mean, in some ways, it's maybe you have to be even more explicit because you're going to be probably sitting down in front of the computer to do this, and your kids will have
like you're doing
no
anything.
idea what you're doing.
Right.
So if it was these days, I wouldn't even know my parents did it.
True.
I just think they're working on something, or
yeah,
I wouldn't know it was a financial thing. So, whatever. Really, the first step, I guess, is living with a budget,
or just modeling good habits, good money habits. But I'll say this: this step is really hard if you're
the
not.
Foundational, primordial,
Minimum.
Key financial habit, and not just like, oh yeah, we have a budget, but talk to your kids about it. Help them see it.
Yeah.
Talk about it. Oh, well, this is, we've decided we're going to use our money for this or this or this. To bring the budget into your family's life.
Yep. And not I think sometimes the temptation could be, it's not in the budget. Like that kind of language. And that is horrible. And we don't use budgets to punch people in the gut. We don't use budgets to shame people out of
for example,
wanting to purchase something.
When we are at the store, every time we could go every day and we could always buy something. We could always buy a new Lego set.
Our kids
always
will
buy a new toy.
Always want
so they're all going,
to
hey,
buy something.
Can we buy this Lego Ferris wheel? Can we buy this doll? Can we buy this game? Whatever it is. And I don't just say, no, we don't have the money for it. No, it's not in the budget. I don't say that. I say, no, we can't get that today because we have in our budget, we've set our money aside for these other things. We set it aside for the vacation we're going on or whatever else is going on.
Yep.
So it's a more of a positive way of looking at it.
Maybe let's write that down and let's think about it for a birthday, or, just making sure, like, don't create in our kids that the budget was the ultimate fun squasher and the ultimate wet blanket on every situation. Okay. So but I think another habit you could be modeling to your kids is not using debt for lifestyle purchases or things that go down in value. The problem with debt isn't necessarily debt in and of itself. Look at the case of a mortgage. You lock in the price on this thing at a low interest that is hopefully going up in value at a higher percentage rate on an annual basis. It really does work out for an overwhelming majority of people to be a very smart, strategic financial transaction in their life. Okay? It doesn't, but if you can't take that same idea and be like, oh yeah, debt's great. I'm going to go ahead and charge this trip to Disney. We're going to go ahead and get 2 car payments. We're going to go ahead and buy
the biggest TV we can find at Costco.
Yeah, we're just going to charge all the groceries on the Costco credit card and not have to worry about it because, points are coming back to us, although we're going to end up paying some interest or whatever, lifestyle stuff and things that are inherently going down in value are not things that are wise to pair alongside debt.
Mm-hmm.
And so if your kids can see you modeling that and even communicating about it, our family drove a van with rest in it for a little longer than we probably should have. We just didn't want to we didn't want to pull the trigger, and we were hesitating, still saving, blah, blah, blah. But our kids would sometimes ask, like, why do they have a nicer car? And we would have, instead of just, we don't have the money to buy that, we would say things like, well, if we went ahead and bought the van we want right now, we'd be taking on debt and paying more for the van and we'd explain the process. And that van is just crashing in value month after month. And we explain the process to them, and then we're able to talk about how that differs from a house. So explain to your kids why you do the things that you do.
And you can show this in a very positive way, and just instead of always no debt, you just show we save for things and then we buy them. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's expensive. Well, we can't get it right now, but let's save a little bit this month, a little bit the next, and maybe on the third month, then we can buy it. And your kids will see, oh, you buy things with money, and if you don't have enough money at the beginning for that thing, well, you save it up until you do.
Right.
And that just gets debt out of the picture.
Yep. At least the way that our culture uses debt.
Yes.
That is where the unhealthy relationship with it can come into play. Okay, so another habit, they might watch you meal plan on a weekly basis. They might watch you poke around at, what the local stores have and what the sales might be, and then you strategically planning the family's menu around what's in season and what's going to be on sale, because you're trying to be the best steward possible with your funds and provide your family with nutritious meals. That was a mix between food and meal.
Meals, yes, a mood.
Mood.
Some nutritious mood.
And you're trying to do it as efficiently as possible, because the less you spend on groceries, the more you can spend on other things.
If you flip it the other way, it's feels. The mood and feels.
And then lastly, a really good habit that I think they could see in you is just talking about money as a couple without tension. That one's huge. I feel like
we've heard from folks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I just hate money because mom and dad were always fighting about it.
They were at each other's throat.
I don't even want to bring it up.
They never agreed. They just could never. Yeah, it was always just sighs and angsty eye rolls, and that is picked up on by your kids. And just the little nippy comments, they're just unhealthy. And if your kids can watch you have healthy conversations about finances, even tense ones. There have been more than one time that our kids have heard us say something like, oh, okay, it looks like things are running a little tight in this month. How are the Texeras going to figure this out, honey? And they can be in the room while we have that conversation, because we are on the same side of the table against whatever financial pressure is now bearing down upon us.
Yes.
Instead of being against each other.
Those are just a couple examples, but modeling these good financial habits, letting your kids see the way you handle money. That's one way to teach your kids how to handle money.
Why don't you take us into the second one?
Another great way to do it. So that's just showing them, maybe talking about it, pulling back the curtain a little bit. But what's even better is once you pull back the curtain, you invite them backstage.
Ooh.
So you let them be a part of handling the family's money.
VIP pass.
Ooh, backstage, meet and greet, get the photo. But this is really going to, just put it in their brains, really help them remember what we did with money, so they'll know they can bring it. So one way to do that is if you're paying off debt, well, sure, you can talk about that. They can watch you make the payments, all that. But if you have like a chart tracking your progress, why don't we let them, color in the box, color in the debt-free donut, whatever it is.
That's the debt tracker in our community. Is the debt-free donuts
or the cars if we're paying off a car or whatever it is. Yeah. So invite them into this, however you can. If you were to show giving, or why don't you give them the envelope to give at church? Let them take it up. Let them put it in the slot or however your church does it. And that's another reason why, online giving is so helpful, but it's hidden.
It's not done so many good things for kids watching this.
This is interesting. My grandfather, to avoid scandal, he would give automatically because it was easy. It was good to do. It was better for the church, better for him. To avoid other people seeing him, because he was pretty involved at the parish.
Yeah.
Seeing him just pass the basket by without putting anything in it. He would put in an empty envelope, and on the outside right, I give online.
To not cause scandal.
Yeah.
That others might think he's not giving.
Well, if he's not, why do I need to give?
Right. Yeah.
So that's pretty interesting,
It's valid. A lot of churches nowadays are not even passing the basket anymore.
Yeah, ours, we just have like
we
a
don't.
box.
There's a box outside, but people still see.
Yeah.
People can still see.
So, or you could put $1, if you don't want an empty envelope, you could put $1 in.
Yeah.
Right, for your kid to have the experience of putting it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Something else, a way that they could join in your goals, and this is a little bit next step, because these two are like, you've pretty much made the decision on your own. You've done most of the actions on your own. You're just like inviting them into a piece of it. Yeah.
This one, it's real. They're in it.
And a lot of times, parents will push back on this because they fear making their children suffer, or what they perceive as suffering. Basically, they want to give their kids the best. Everything. They want to give them everything, even to the point of causing them their own selves to financially suffer or not be able to meet goals. And that is not acceptable. As stewards, we're called to do things that support the common good. And if we are overexerting our budget in areas that are, spending on the kids, but it's forcing us to miss other very important common good financial goals for this family as a whole, which you as parents are the base of and will be benefiting from long after your kids are gone and flown the coop into their own homes. You have to sometimes make hard decisions to say no to your kids on some things so that you can still stay on track with other goals. Now, I'm not saying you shut down every activity. I'm not saying you pull every bit of fun from your budget. But if you are really trying to barrel after a certain financial goal, you're trying to get out of debt, you're trying to get your emergency savings established. For us, there's an adoption coming, impending in the next 3 months. We've been in that situation a few times.
Wait. Do you have something to tell me?
No, I wish.
I wish?
I wish. I wish we were in a money scramble. We're not. Dang it. Anyway, sometimes you're going to have to ask your kids to maybe pause certain things. Mm-hmm. And how I approach this with parents is sit down with your kids and list out the activities they're involved in and the expenses with them. And have your kids rank the activities from highest priority to lowest priority. And then you can even then look at how the numbers kind of play up with those. And you can decide together to drop some of those low bang for your buck activities for the higher, bigger bang for your buck activities. Mm-hmm. And this teaches your kids a really, really critical skill because they gain the ability to look at a list of expenses and to identify the things that actually give them life, fulfill them, and are most meaningful. And they can wave goodbye and kind of cut the chaff on the things that are just kind of filling time, filling space, purely social, or not really serving any other role in our life, and they can be let go. This is something they're going to have to repeat time and time again throughout their entire adult life.
Yeah, to teach your kid to identify their priorities and make decisions based on them.
Yeah.
To say no to things they like. To say yes to things they love, like that. Wow, what a life skill. And you really put it in their hands because they'll see, okay, you might be surprised which one they rank first.
Right, true.
And which one they rank last. And they might even decide, depending on how the numbers work, they could be, well, I could get numbers 2 and 3 for less than my number 1 pick.
Sure.
And I like both of those together, I think I like more than just the one alone.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to make these decisions. So the decision to pull back or to simplify your life, they're helping you make. They're making. And so it's going to go a lot more smoothly for you. And they're going to come out with that skill to really identify what they want and make those decisions.
Yeah, so you could sit down with your kid and say, look, I've got $150 a month that we can spend on things for you. Or it's going to be $30 a month. I don't know what your exact numbers are going to look like, but whatever you want to go ahead and budget there that is prudent and balanced, go ahead and put that there, and then your kid makes the decision of how that's going to look. And I think that this is, again, it's just it's a critical thinking skill that is going to set them up for success for that long haul. Because you're helping them kind of create that delayed gratification. And you might even tell them that, hey, once we meet this big goal, we're tightened the belts right now for this season. But at the end of it, we are all going to go do a day at Six Flags. And we're going to eat all the pizza and churros or whatever.
Say churros.
The theme park stuff that leaves you feeling terrible, but you like in the moment. We're going to have fun and we're going to celebrate. And then it won't always be this way. But even that in and of itself is teaching them that discipline for a season is something that can be celebrated and rewarded later on. Again, these are really, really good things. And so many people are in hot water financially because they don't know how to do just this.
Yeah. And this is just one example of doing. There's many more.
A million. But that one habit, huge.
Yes. And the third thing, you can model good habits.
Yeah.
You can invite them into those habits and really play a part
in those big
the
goals
financial life of the family. And if you were going to do that, well, you really want them to know what they're doing. You're training them. We want to provide this holistic, complete, integrated education in finances.
Yes. And this last one, this third point, it is completely a plug for our brand new kids and money class that we're going to be debuting in July.
And so, I mean,
it's an unselfish plug.
I wish, I do mean this. I was like, let's do these 3 things I wish my parents did. And she's like, well, what about Walt? And I was like, yes, I wish they would have. I wish it would have existed so that I could have gone through a WalletWin Kids program.
Yeah,
and actually learned this stuff, because it was more painful and probably harder to pick up when I did it in my late 20s than in my early teens or even before then.
Yeah. So in our WalletWin Kids and Money class, we are debuting. It's going to be foundational content that the first 2 steps, those good habits and inviting your kids into your goals, those are going to build on the foundation that we teach them in this class. And we are going to be hosting 3 different age groups of this. So we're going to teach things at an age-appropriate level, because it's very different to talk to an 8-year-old about creating a budget than it is a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
Very different. And even then a 10-year-old, just different. So we're going to have 3 different weeks. We're going to do grade school, middle school, and high school. So we're going to cover the same concepts throughout, but we're going to talk about them in an age-appropriate way and use age-appropriate examples. Yeah.
And activities and all.
Yeah, and worksheets and homework and blah, blah, blah. So because, again, you can't give the same worksheet to an 18-year-old as you give a 7-year-old.
Yes.
7-year-old's still going to want to color some stuff.
But we're gonna be talking about what is the purpose in money? What's the role? How does it work? How are we called to interact with it? What does the church teach about money? What Jesus mentions money. I think it's in like a third of his parables. Why is that? Why is it so important? What do we need to learn in order to get the full lessons from all those times he mentions it? So we're going to dive into that. And then, of course, the practicals: budgeting, spending, saving, investing, giving, of course, being generous. All of that is right there. All the things I wish I knew.
We're going to talk about the dignity of work
and
earning money. We're going to tell stories from the lives of the saints and how money might end up looking depending on the vocation that they're called to later in life, and what relationship the Lord might ask them to have with money, and how that is going to be possibly radically different from what our culture says is successful. So we're going to talk all about those things. And so it's going to educate them in that right understanding about personal finances and the habits and attitudes that a good steward has when they approach the topic of money. It's kind of going to be the marriage between not only, our Catholic faith, but also just smart strategies that are obviously moral. So what's that scripture verse? Wise as serpents and innocent as doves.
I believe so.
We want to help teach your kids some of these strategies that are they're kind of just morally neutral. It's not like you're going to find budgeting in the catechism, but you're certainly going, these smart habits, the bedrock and basis underneath them is virtue. And the church has lots to say about the different virtues. So we're going to talk all about that as well and introduce them to some of these habits that if they start practicing them when they're young, they're going to be they're going to be hitting a home run from the get-go as soon as they reach adulthood. And we, not so secretly, that's our agenda. We want to raise up the most financially literate and generation of Catholics.
Generous generation.
What did I say?
You just said generation.
Oh, sorry. My brain sometimes just doesn't work. The most financially literate and generous generation of Catholics the church has ever known. Reason being is we're just kind of sick and tired of the new evangelization not being well funded. The Lord says that the workers, they're ready. The harvest he's waiting.
The harvest is plentiful and the laborers are few.
Yeah. So, and part of that is when the laborers get called up, they don't have the funding. And so we got to do something about that. And that's what we're doing. We're raising up good stewards that are going to be able to help the harvest.
Yeah.
And the kingdom of God come here on earth.
And one great habit, one great thing to learn is being able to identify something very important, something that's needed, and sniffing out a great price for it. And so right now, in the future, WalletWin Kids, those 3 levels will be 3 separate classes with 3 different prices. You're going to have to buy them
individually
as time goes on individually. Right now, it's a 3-pack.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Because this is our beta run of the class, meaning our first time that we're actually taking folks through it. And if your kids can't make it during those weeks, that's okay because you're gaining lifetime access to this. So it's fine. If you're going to be on vacation and your kid's going to watch it later, that's fine. We will be hosting a live Q&A that week for the kids to actually join us and ask questions. And that'll be really fun. I'm really looking forward to that. You parents can join us too with your kids if you'd like, especially the younger ones. But again, you'll get recordings to that. And you're getting lifetime access for your entire family. A lot of other money classes out there for kids, it's a base price, and then every additional kid is like an extra $30 or $40 or $60. And we know for Catholic families,
and then you got to do it all again when they're older.
Yeah,
and you need the next.
And it's the next one. But yeah, for Catholic families with multiple kiddos, that can get really expensive really quickly, and that's why we're doing this lifetime access, and it's a family license for everybody, every kid in your household, even if you've just got the littles and your oldest is barely on the cusp of that grade school class. Well, you've just locked in, and you now have access to the grade school, middle school, and high school. And when you get into the lifetime one, whatever upgrades we do to these exact courses, you'll get access to that as well. So as they improve and your kid is now no longer 7 and they're 13, we're probably going to have something better for them when they're ready at that time. Yeah,
when these core courses get updated, you get the updates as well.
Yes. I won't say better. Maybe just reshot, higher quality,
more polished,
updated.
Perhaps. Yeah.
A beta version of anything is a little rough and tumble, a little more smoke from the Wizard of Oz than you'd ever think of seeing. But that's why we offer killer prices for it.
Yes.
Because, we want to go ahead and pass that along as well. So for $99 until June 30th, you can go ahead and enroll and get your license. It is over at walletwin.com/kids. And on July 1, the price is going to jump to $129.
Yes.
It'll
So it's still the 3-pack, but it's $129.
Yep. And it'll sit there for a while until the class is complete. And then they'll get broken up into their own individual things.
Yeah.
So that'll be that.
So that's 20. I mean, by doing it now, that's a 25% savings.
Yes. So join us by July 1 and get it for $99 instead of $129, walletwin.com/kids. And then you can see on that website as well when we're going to be running and debuting. So obviously we're going to start with grade school and we're just going to build it out from there. But I believe we start the week of July 11.
Yes.
Yeah, somewhere around there. If I'm getting my dates right.
Yep.
July 11th is kicking off the grade school week. So anyway, join us. We would love to have you and your kiddos there. We're honored and privileged to be able to share with them kind of the knowledge that we've acquired over the last combined 20 years of experience in managing money and then, teaching our own kids. And then having you be able to build off of that foundation by modeling and then having your kids join you in your own financial goals. You are going to be raising up some kiddos that are going to be capable of doing really bright things in our world. And I'm excited to see that. We're excited to play a role in that, a teeny tiny role in complementing your education of your kids. So again, head on over to walletwin.com/kids, get into that beta with the lifetime family license, and let us know if you have any questions.
Till next time, bye for now.